Okay, I'm using my Brother 930 electronic knitting machine for this blanket. I'm going to be using a 93 Garter Carriage, which is right there. And I'm downloading my electronic blanket pattern with my Brother floppy disk drive, which is right there. This pattern that I wrote and designed is available free on the internet, and if you want to find out where it is, just go to the end of the video and I'll give you that information. Okay, the yarn we're using is, waste yarn is the yellow cone on the left, that's Gram Fine 4-ply. The blanket yarn is a pink cone on the right, and that's Tam Sport, which is a double knit weight. Makes a great baby blanket. And I obviously don't have enough yarn on that cone to knit the entire blanket, but I'm doing that deliberately because I want to show you a little trick that I use to add in new yarn, and you won't be able to see where the join is. And I'll show you that when we get to that part. So we're going to cast on with the waste yarn and ravel cord, and I'll show you a little trick I use to hang the cast on comb. And if you're having trouble hanging your cast on comb, then this might help you. I've got my waste yarn threaded up. My pattern is 198 needles, so that's 99 needles each side of 0. They're in B position, and I'm going to do what's called an automatic cast on. So you bring all your needles to B position, then you take your needle selector and you pull every other needle on the bed out to E position. Now, have your carriage set for your main tension for your waste yarn. Push in the left part button and knit 1 row. What this does is it's knitting every other needle. Hang a clothespin on your tail, and we're going to have to move this carriage all the way out and hang the cast on comb. Here's the trick with the cast on comb if you're having problems hanging it. Take your cast on comb and hold it level with your machine. Bring it over the top of the machine, on top of the needles, and have the tines of the comb just to the right of each needle. And just gently pull straight out and then down. Now this cast on comb is hung perfectly, and it's caught the yarn in between the needles of that first row. We're going to hang some weights and cancel your part button. I just put a claw weight on each end to knit this first row back. Hold the comb and just slowly knit over all the needles. So my row count is 4. My first row, knitting to the left, then I hang my comb, and I've knit 3 more rows. Break your waste yarn, put another clothespin on the new tail, and take your ravel cord. We're going to knit 1 row with the ravel cord now, and you hand feed it into your carriage. This is going to help you remove that waste yarn when your blanket's done. Now we're going to remove the carriage from the machine. And because my camera's there, I'm just going to push my right part button in, which means I will not knit, and I'll just take it off the machine. So here's a close-up of what I've done so far, and the cast-on comb is hanging perfectly. I've got my waste yarn and I've got my ravel cord. Here's my garter carriage. I've got it on main tension 10, and I need to do an automatic cast on with my garter carriage. I'm going to turn my row counter to 9, just for the time being, and I'm going to push, there's 2 buttons here, push the back one to the right, which will move both of those buttons to the right, and then move this button over to the right as well. Now, when you move that over to the right, it reduces the row count by 1, and that's why I changed the row count to read a number when I started, because if it's on 0 and you move that, then you've got 999 going all the way across. You've got to move all these. So this is on 1 now. So all 3 buttons are to the right, tension 10, and I'm going to put it on my bed and do a cast on. So I'm turning my machine on. I've already got my pattern for my first section downloaded. This is a 930 with a small memory, so I have to knit this blanket in 6 sections, downloading each section as I go. So I've got my first section downloaded. Put your input button on, and now you're able to do a cast on. And let me set up my camera and I'll show you how that goes. Okay, so you'll notice that now I have another weight hung here. I actually have 2 of these. These are the wider lace weights. I use 2 of these, and I use 2 claw weights. And I just find that for a blanket, the garter carriage knits better when there's more weight. I have my garter carriage. Slide it onto your needle bed till it stops. Lift the front and push it in until the G light on your console is lit. Take your yarn, thread it through, make sure it's moving up and down, close it, move it up and down again, make sure it's not caught, push your start button. Hold your tail till it starts casting on. Okay? Take another clothespin and hang it from your main yarn tail. Let this cast on all the way over to the right, and then I'll stop it and I'll tell you what I do from there. To get this knitting normally, you take the top 2 levers, you push the top one over to the left and the next one over to the left, and that's going to allow this to knit normally back and forth. But I don't want my pattern to be programmed in yet because I need to knit a plain row. So I leave my input light lit over there. I've moved my 2 levers to the left, and now I'm just going to push the start button again, and with the input button lit, it will knit a plain row and disregard the pattern. So that's what I'm doing now. 1 more row over to the right.